Wow. So much energy in this room. It is palpable. I think we're just going to zip through the message and let's dance again, right? Because I am all for that. And those of you who know I have group fitness in my background, I'm just like, yeah, let's go, let's do it again. Oh, how fun. It's been a really fun week. I had the opportunity to just observe it. I showed up every night, and I was like, good job, everybody. Can I have a snack? But if you were a part of sports camp this week, thank you so much. And if you brought your kids, thank you so much. And if you donated money, you donated supplies, you were the background to all of that, thank you so much, because this is what the church is about, right? The church is about kids and future and forward movement and energy, and what we do here matters. Did you see what was not in any of those photos? There was not one cell phone in any of those pictures. So kudos to our leaders for helping make connection with people. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're wrapping up our series on the Roar series. We took a little side trip to Father's Day last week, but we are wrapping up the Roar series, Truth in a World of Opinions. So as I was sitting where you are, and as I look at, hey, can you put the other one up with the lions that look at each other like that? The original, do we have that? The one that, no, not one of mine, the one you guys created. That's it. Right there. So that picture right here, all this whole time, I thought it was a bridge. I was like, look, there's a gap. This whole message is about bridging the gap and one side to another. And then I was like, why does it say roar? Oh, it's lions. It's not. And so, for the 3 weeks or prior to this, all I could see was bridge? Lions. Okay, great. Why haven't we talked about them? Why haven't we talked about lions? Since it's not a bridge. And now you can't unsee that, can you? You'll never unsee that. But I got curious because this is how my brain works, because I couldn't unsee the bridge. And then once I knew they were lions, I was like, Jim, why aren't we talking about lions? Okay. I get a little squirrely sometimes when I'm listening, and so I know you do too. It's all right. So we're going to follow that path for just a second. Did you know, I learned some things about lions, that a lion's roar lasts approximately 30 to 40 seconds. Did you know that? I had no idea. Do you know why a lion's roar is so guttural and so long? It's because a lion's vocal cords are in the shape of a square, rather than the normal shape of other animals that are in a triangle. So it can go longer and deeper. Really interesting. Do you know why lions roar? They're talking to scare people, yeah. Well, there are 4 main reasons that lions roar. They preserve and defend their territory, so they're they're scaring people away. They're preserving and defending territory. I love this one. They're like bats. They echolocate. They find each other in the dark, right? They can locate one another I loved it, how it described absence of light. I was like, you mean in the dark? So, locate one another in the absence of light. 3, send warnings to the pride, right? They have a different way of communicating. And because I don't have square vocal cords, I can't really do the roar. I practiced this week trying to think that I could make it sound. Didn't work, so I'm just going to relieve you of that. But 4, displaying dominance, right? They do that to say, this is my territory, and so when there is a challenge, the roar helps to display dominance. Now, there are about 6 other reasons: scaring away intruders, send warnings. They can also attract a mate, and you can also hear a lion's roar from up to 8 kilometers away. That's a long way. It also it's the louder than the human pain threshold of 110 decibels. So today is your trivia day about lions and their roars, because I couldn't get over the fact that it wasn't a bridge, it was lions, and why lions roar, and how that relates to truth in a world of opinions. Why do people roar? People roar as well. 4 main reasons. Let's see how they line up. Our autonomy is threatened, especially in Western culture, where we value autonomy more than we value community. So if you are infringing on me, I will probably roar back. I will come at you because I see that I am being threatened. We roar to be heard. Sometimes when we say something and we don't think we're being heard, we just say it louder, right? Well, my hearing is fine. I don't need you to elevate your voice. I need you to say it in a way that I understand. But sometimes we get stuck because, like the first one, I'm threatened, and so I just talk louder, talk faster, talk more, right? And then my pitch goes up. You can always tell when someone's upset because their pitch goes up, they talk faster, and there's words, 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 words. We also roar to send warnings to our tribe. Define tribe how you like it, whether it's your family, whether you're walking with your kids, and, this morning when I was out walking, a dog decided he was gonna, jump on me, and the other dogs over there, thankfully I didn't have my sweet little puppy with me, but another person hollered to protect the tribe, the people in the area. We do this via our voice. We also do this on social media. We think we have a listening audience, we have a tribe. I have to warn you of this. And we use our roar to display dominance. I'm in charge, not you. That's what we do, right? So when, right now, I have the microphone. I understand that when you give someone a microphone, you give them power and their voice is elevated. So I know that Jim and I talk about this a lot in the roles that we play in this community, that our voice matters. And so what we say, we have to be cautious. We have to be very careful of how we use that quote-unquote power or elevation of our voice, because it lands differently than if we were not leading this community of faith. So we use our voice to display dominance. But do you know that lions don't roar constantly? That would be exhausting. That would be exhausting. They roar for a purpose. And I'm going to tell you a secret. Some of you know this. I went to the men's group this week. I did. I popped in on them on Thursday morning, this Test for Echo group that Jim meets with, and they talk over the scripture for the message on Sunday. And so I showed up and got some really interesting information. We had a really great discussion, and I'll probably never go back. They said I could. Maybe Jim will never go back. I don't know. But we had a really good time. But you know what else I did? I talked to a group of women, right? Because he's always talking to the group of men, and I was like, well, I would like to hear what the women have to say. So gathered with a small group of women, had an incredibly rich conversation with both groups, and here is the point of today's message. How we communicate matters. In this series, we've talked about the words we say, what gets communicated, why it's important, and today we're going to close with how we communicate, which is my area of expertise in my working life. That's what I do. I'm a coach. I'm a professional coach. I listen to people. I listen and help and pull out ideas and help people move forward from kind of their stuckness, whether that's in the world of health and wellness or professional or corporate. academic, whatever that is. And so we're going to talk about how we communicate. And the story we're going to find ourselves in the book of Acts, chapter 17, verses 16 through 22. You might recognize this passage as Paul in Athens. So let's read through the full passage, and then we're going to break it down into some things that we're going to notice. While Paul was waiting for them in Athens, he was deeply troubled by all the idols he saw everywhere in the city. He went to the synagogue to reason with the Jews and the God-fearing Gentiles, and he spoke daily in the public square to all who happened to be there. He also had a debate with some of the Epicurean and Stoic philosophers. When he told them about Jesus and his resurrection, they said, "What's this babbler trying to say?" With these strange ideas he's picked up. Others said, "He seems to be preaching about some foreign gods." Then they took him to the high council of the city. "Come and tell us about this new teaching," they said. "You are saying some rather strange things, and we want to know what it's all about." It should be explained that all the Athenians, as well as the foreigners in Athens, seemed to spend all their time discussing the latest ideas. So Paul, standing before the council, addressed them as follows: "Men of Athens, I notice that you are religious in every way." Do we have another passage after that? Oh, that's right. You're right. Thank you. Oh, I'm going to read 23 as well. "For as I was walking along, I saw your many shrines, and one of your altars had this inscription on it: 'To an unknown God.' This God, whom you worship without knowing, is the one I'm telling you about." So before we go much farther, I'm going to teach you an acronym. And it's WAIT, wait. And it stands for, why am I talking? Okay? Ouch. Okay, so caveat, today's message is brought to you by an equal opportunity offender. Everyone's toes will be pinched just a touch, including my own. So, that was actually brought up in one of the groups this week about, I don't want to offend anybody. Well, I'm not there. It's not that I want to offend, it's just that sometimes the gospel offends. And it's not offending with the purpose of crushing someone. It's more of teaching and showing you, us, myself included, ways that we have opportunity to change. Wait. Why am I talking? So in verse 16, let's find out why Paul was talking. He went to the synagogue to reason with the Jews and the God-fearing Gentiles, and he spoke daily in the public square. So here is the how we communicate matters, and here is the first step. He went, or you go, where the people are. It's okay. I also had to sing The Little Mermaid at that moment. I want to go where the people are. Ask him some questions and get some answers. Okay, I digress. Go where the people are. Paul was in Athens. He was waiting for his companions. But while he was waiting, he wasn't just sitting around twiddling his thumbs, right? He went to the synagogue, and he spoke daily in the public square. So we see him in the synagogue with the religious leaders, and we see him in the public square with the Epicureans and the Stoics. And as he was there, he also observed, right? Observe your surroundings. When you are in communication, if you're in a new place, you go where the people are, and you observe your surroundings. And what he saw, verse 16, says that he was deeply troubled by all the idols he saw everywhere in the city. Okay, he paid attention. He saw what was there. I want to slide over to my conversation with the groups this week. And I asked them the question, if you were to identify the idols that you see in our world today, not just our world, but our community and in your life, what names would you give those idols, right? We don't walk around and light candles to certain gods or goddesses on our way into the grocery store, for example, into market. But what do you see? And these are some of the things that were brought up. Social media topped the list by far. Possessions, the things that we have, and certain examples were given, but overall, it was just sometimes the things we have become the gods of our life. We spend a lot of time with them, on them, about them, washing them, keeping them clean, storing them, whatever it is, they're things, possessions. Prosperity, right? And then prosperity kind of identified with personal comfort and ease. I want an easy life. I want everything taken care of for me. I want someone to do something for me. I want my life to be easy. And in order for my life to be easy, I need to be prosperous, right? I want to be an influencer on Instagram or on social media of some kind. I don't want to have to work hard. I just want things to fall into my lap. Ouch, Gen Z. Sorry, but I sit across online as I coach. Sometimes I had this conversation this week. Somebody who had gotten into a company they wanted to get into, they'd been there 8 months and they didn't know why they were in charge yet, and that was real. Ooh, because it's not easy. You haven't put in the time. You don't have the experience. These are all the things I wanted to say, but I had to clear my mind and listen to what this person, and understandable. This is what's fed to, this is what's fed to us. Life is easy. It should be easy. Start your own business. You'll be a millionaire in a year. No. Maybe, probably not. I also talked with another younger person, late 20s, wanted to start a YouTube channel and said, he was going to make one video, hadn't made any videos yet, hadn't made anything. And the first one, his goal was to have 10,000 viewers. Okay. Where are you going to get them? Where are they? Who are your people? You start asking other questions. And the question I ended up asking is, what happens if you get 5,000, not 10? I'm a failure, he said. Okay, well, if I had 5,000 followers, it's probably because I did something stupid. But this was with a purpose, and his total seriousness that he was a failure if he didn't, on the very first video he put out, get 5,000 followers, 5,000 likes, and be able to become, Mr. Beast. Not going to happen. So these two go right in hand, prosperity, personal comfort, and this gets fed into our phones every single day. Every single day. Politics and political parties. I don't have to say anything else about that, right? That easily become the god of this world, or a person's world. And this was an interesting one. Inclusivity and acceptance has really risen to, this is what described to me, has risen to the place where you can't question it. And if there is ever something that rises to the level of not being able to be questioned, then it has become a godlike stature. If you can't question something, if you can't say, well, I have another idea here. Status is another thing that kind of moves into prosperity, personal comfort, and image. Okay, social media highly being the top, everything kind of fell into it. But there is one common thread between all of these things that were mentioned. Do you know what it is? Next, yeah, you said it. Ultimately, the gods that we serve have a name, and it's our own. Ow. We will be passing out ice at the end of the sermon for your toes and mine. This was tough. This landed hard with me. This landed hard. If you were in that group, you know it did, because you said, ooh, Leslie. I said, I know. That landed hard. Of the ideas that both groups agreed on, I want to go back to social media for a second, and how that how we're more connected to our phones and following the lives of other people, yet we're more disconnected from the people around us. Social media, and this was the word that was used, is curated for us. And if you think of what curated means, it means it's chosen very specifically for each person. So each person in this room who has a phone in their pocket has a different feed because it's been curated for you to tell you how great you are, myself included. It gives us a false sense of connection a false sense of connection. And the statistics are showing that the more time we spend on our phones, specifically on social media platforms, the more lonely, depressed, and anxious we are. And I would point you to the book, The Anxious Generation by Michael Haidt. He's the same person who wrote The Coddling of the American Mind. And this research is, you're probably seeing a lot of stuff about this book coming out. Anyway, for those of you interested, The Anxious Generation by Michael Haidt, H-A-I-D-T. The idea, in order to roar and how we communicate, is to connect to community. So let's go back to our passage. So in verse 19, so first of all, we know that Paul went, right? Go where the people are. Observe your surroundings. But you know what he did not do? He did not condemn them for what they were doing or what he saw. Very important. So in verse 19, you see that he says, then they took him to the high council. Come and tell us about this new teaching. They said, you are saying some rather strange things, and we want to know what it's all about. So the point is to pique their curiosity, right? When you are in communication with someone, you're piquing their curiosity. And then it says, I love this, and you chuckled as I read it, it should be explained that all the Athenians, as well as the foreigners in Athens, seem to spend all their time discussing the latest ideas. Sitting around talking about politics, sitting around talking about topic A, B, C, and D. Sound familiar? Yeah, we just don't do it in the public square. We do it right here. So, now, the next point is then to stay curious. Stay curious. What about these gods intrigues you? What about this political party intrigues you? When we stay curious, we can stay open. But too often, we move directly into judgment or opposition, right? Because we feel threatened. Why do people roar? We feel threatened. So we pounce back, right? We roar back rather than sit down, listen, stay curious, and move the conversation forward. Remember, lions don't roar all the time. Then, when you think the explanation's over, why? You don't really okay, first of all, we don't want to ask a why question. Why questions are accusatory most of the time. Why did you do that? Why would you choose that over this? The only time a why question is not accusatory is when you're using it in the negative. And that is like, why wouldn't you go? Right? That's more negative. Why would you want to work with me? Why would you, so you're actually shifting that question. So be very careful about how you use a question if you ever use the question why. You use questions how and what if you're really trying to move a conversation along. So stay curious, and the next slide should say, ask the next question. There's always one more thing. Always. When you think there is the end of the conversation, I'm going to give you another acronym. AWE. A-W-E. And what else? Because if you've created a safe environment to talk and to communicate, you can ask this question and it just might get answered. If someone feels like they can trust you, you're not going to use the information they're giving you against them, you can move a conversation forward and really start to find out a little bit more by asking and what else? And mean it. Not like, and what else? What else did you do? Why did you do that? Don't do that. Don't do that. No. Well, Leslie said to ask why. Leslie did not say to ask why. And what else? We stay curious. We stay back, right? You stay open. We breathe in a conversation. We allow space to open in a conversation. The minute we start to close in, we start to show, if you're feeling yourself doing this in a conversation, you are no longer open, right? So Paul, standing before the council, addressed them as follows, because the next one is, if you ask the next question, they might just invite you to come speak to their group or talk to them more. And so what you're going to do is accept their invitation. This might get you into trouble, but not with them, but with the people who have an idea of who you should be and act and all of that. Because that invitation might take you to a place where somebody else thinks, you really shouldn't be there. But you're having a conversation. I don't know what that means. I mean, does that mean you go? I actually don't even know on this one. In this situation, it's accept their invitation, and you know who you are, and you don't have to say, no, I don't do that. I mean, there are some moral lines here, of course, but accept their invitation. So he goes. So he was standing before the council. He addressed them as follows: Men of Athens, I noticed that you are very religious in every way. For as I was walking along, I saw your many shrines, and one of your altars had this inscription on it: to an unknown God, whom you worship without knowing, is the one I'm telling you about. Paul does something really beautiful here. It's kind of sneaky. I kind of love it. He finds common ground. Common ground, finding a topic, opinion, or interest that two or more people can agree on, especially when disagreeing, right? He says, I notice you are very religious in every way. So is he. Remember, Paul was Saul, who was a part of the Sanhedrin. They have a lot of commonalities. He has the ability to talk to them. He has an in. They have common ground, and he's not insulting them. Now, if we were to do this in life today, I thought a lot about this. There is a deep craving for spirituality in the world today. We have a deep need that the universe cares for us. Right? You hear that all the time. Well, the universe provided this for me, or my higher power provided. I saw the way that my horoscope showed me the way today. It's very easy if you've grown up in the church, or if you draw really hard lines about those things, that you end up just closing that off. Well, it's not the universe, it's a God. Yeah, you're right. It's not the horoscope. Well, we shouldn't have anything to do with that. Well, technically, yeah, you're right. But it's an opening to conversation, because what we're missing is that there's another question. Ask the next question. Maybe in your head. What is it that they're searching for? Right? There is a hunger in the people around you to know that there is more to this life than what they see. You happen to know the name of the unknown God that they have created an altar for. There is space. There is space. People are hungry. There is a TV show, episodes. Some of you like it, some of you don't. I'm not here to debate that. The Chosen, whether you like it or not, it is representing a hunger that millions of people are watching, that is providing an open door for conversation. Let's step back and see what God is doing on the bigger scale so that we get invited into the inner circle with maybe one person or two people. And if we're all looking and understanding that this need that people are having and that they're showing it in different ways is just truly a hunger for this space that God put in each, this divine spark that God put in every single person. People are calling it different things because maybe they've never heard. Believe it or not, there are people who have never heard about Jesus because we're roaring all the time about things that don't matter. We're roaring about things that matter, but we're missing the point. I know, I'm getting in trouble for that one. Lions don't roar all the time. They roar with a purpose. And then, when you've done all of these things, you can speak the truth. But not until then, or you won't be heard. You'll just be another talking head, another pundit, another noisy person on social media saying something about every single thing. Find common ground. And this is, I mentioned before, and I've hit social media pretty hard on this one, which is fine, I think. I don't think the division is real. I think the division we see in the world is curated. Leslie's opinion. I think it's very focused, and I think it's false. Because I truly believe that we are more alike than we are different. We all have the same basic needs: to be known, to be loved, to be valued, to be heard. And that deepest need is to connect with the creator of the universe. And then all the other things are details. We do it in all kinds of different ways. So then he spoke. He said, "He is the God who made the world and everything in it. Since he is the Lord of heaven and earth, he doesn't live in man-made temples." This is not going to be every verse, but I'm going to keep reading. "And human hands can't serve his needs, for he has no needs. He himself gives life and breath to everything, and he satisfies every need." Ooh. He satisfies every need. "From one man he created all the nations throughout the whole earth, and he decided beforehand when they should rise and fall, and he determined their boundaries." He goes on to speak and tell the people who that God was, is, and always will be. Truth sets people free, and I want to point out that at the end of Acts 17, we don't have a slide for this one, in verse 32, when they heard Paul speak about the resurrection of the dead, remember his audience is Pharisees, Sadducees, some believe in resurrection, some do not. Some laughed in contempt, but others said, "We want to hear more about this later." That's golden. That's golden. When somebody says, "Tell me more. Tell me more." Not everyone's going to say that, but when someone says, "Tell me more," oh, by all means, make that coffee date. Take that walk. Spend a little extra time. That ended Paul's discussion with them, but some joined him and became believers. Among them were Dionysius, a member of the council, a woman named Damaris, and others with them. We don't know the effect that our conversations have on other people, but I will tell you this. How we communicate matters. Are we open? Are we asking questions? Or are we closing in? So our final, a couple of extra, the other scriptures, can we do the John one if we have them? John 8:31, Jesus said to the people who believed in him, "You are truly my disciples if you remain faithful to my teachings. and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free, and truth has a name. Right? And that next passage reads that Jesus said back in John 14, I am the way, I am the truth, and I am the life. So when you don't know what the truth is, Jesus already got that one figured out for you. So today's message, as we wrap up the Roar series, is to take action on something you heard today. I don't know what that is, but I have a sense that you do. Let's worship together through song.